Hello, hi everyone. This is my passion, Malathi. In the last class, we learned about the freedom struggle introduction and about INC, that is, Lord Lytton brought in Domestic Papers Control Act, Lord Ripon brought in Ilbert Bill, and INC was formed in 1885 by A.O. Hume. Its objective was to form nationalist attitude and political awareness. So by the end of 19th century, what happened? Two types of struggle freedom fighters. Those who fighted for the freedom, the Indian leaders, they got separated into two types, that is moderates and extremists. And after moderates and extremists, even revolutionaries were formed. We learn about revolutionaries in the next classes. So what happened next? After INC was formed, we learned about the introduction. Then what happened? So there were three phases in this. So first one is first phase, and then the second phase, and then the final phase. So we are going to learn the freedom struggle in three phases. So first phase is about the moderates 1885 to 1906, and the second phase is about extremists 1906 to 1920. So the last phase, final phase, is the Gandhian era 1920 to 1947. So let us begin. First phase, moderates 1885 to 1906. What is first of all a phase? Phase is not FACE phase or phases. It's the phase is nothing but a part. So three parts are there in the freedom struggle given in our textbook. So first phase is about the moderates. So let's get on. So, what happened? Traditionally, the first 20 years of the beginning of Congress are called the moderate age. So, what happened? After the division of Indian freedom fighters as moderates and extremists, the first 20 years of beginning of Congress. So, Congress was formed in 1885. So, add up on 20 years, what will happen? So, it became 1905. Till 1905, from 1885 to 1905, the beginning of Congress, isn't it? So the first 20 years of beginning of Congress means the starting 20 years of Congress are called the modern age. Nath Banerjee, Dadabhai Navroji and Gopalakrishna Gokhale were prominent. The moderates trusted the British administration and their impartiality, used to place their requests and appeals before the government within the constitutional framework. The moderates taught people about political situations. Who are moderates? Famous moderates are M.G. Ranade, Surendranath Banerjee, Dadabhai Navroji, and Gopalakrishna Gokhale. Did the moderates do? They trusted the British administration impartiality. Please note it down here that it is impartiality. They trusted that British were not partial. They treated Indians and Britishers equally. Is it? No, absolutely no. They used to place their requests and appeals before the government within the constitution framework. As I told you in the last class, constitution is nothing but a structure. So they put on their requests and appeals before the British government in a structured framework. So they were the first people who taught people about the political situation. So they are also the INC members. So they taught people about the political situations, what's going around them, and they thought that only people can revoke against the British. Only moderates or only extremists, only rebels cannot, and they did not get freedom. All the people, all one, got freedom, as we know. So what they did, what were the implementations or objectives of moderates, what they did? So they conducted meetings, means they arranged debates, they arranged social meetings so people can gather and listen what's happening around them. So discussed problems and placed before the government various requests related to development of industries, reduction of military expenses, improvement in education standards, forcing the British government to take up studies about poverty in the country, etc. Please note down here 5 to 6 points are there, so we may forget it. So what was the first point? Conducted meetings. So the second point is discussing problems. They discuss what are the problems we are facing by the British rule, and they gave awareness to people. So then they placed before the government. So they placed various requests about what? Development of industries, reduction of military expenses. What is development of industries? So it was the period industries started to develop. Now we are having, right, cotton industry, textile industry, etc., etc. Those were not there in that period. So they were the one who started development in industries in India, and reduction of military expenses. So what happened is, military expenses like weapons, guns, armations, they were all very costly. Upon the reduction of military of expenses, moderates. So improvement in education standards. What is a standard? Means a great level, a level. Education level was improved, by their request. Okay, forcing the British government to take up studies about poverty in the country. Please note this sentence. It's a tricky one. They forced the British government to take up studies. They wanted the British government to study about, means to understand and do research on poverty in India. Means they are indirectly saying that British government should take up the pain and the loss by the poor people of our country and do good for them. Okay, so next, what happened? So after some time, what happened? Indians got what awareness late, right? They did not get very early, they got it late. So for the first time, the moderates critically analyzed the ill effects of the British rule in India. So these moderates also got to know that they were partial, and then got to know the ill effects. Ill effects means what we say in Kannada, dushparinamagalu. They got what are the bad effects of British rule in India. Moderates placed the drain of Indian wealth theory, which was by Dadabhai Nauroji. They placed before the people facts and figures about the drain of Indian wealth into England. Dadabhai Nauroji explained about the transfer of Indian wealth to England and called it as drain theory. So, what is drain theory? Dadabhai Nauroji explained about the transfer of wealth from India to England, and it is called drain theory. It may come for MCQ or 1 mark. He maintained that encouraging imports and reducing exports created a situation unfavorable to Indian. What is export and import? Import means sending our Indian goods to European countries, and import is getting goods from those countries to India. So what they are saying here, encouraging imports. Okay, they wanted their products to get sold in India, but they don't want our products to go to European countries, because if Indian goods go there, we'll get a nice profit rate. They don't want us to get profited. They want them to be profited and rule the India. So this created a situation unfavorable to India. Obviously, if reducing imports and encouraging imports, I'm sorry, reducing exports and encouraging imports. So, if reducing exports and encouraging imports is continued, it's unfavorable for India. It's not likely for India, right? Leading to drain of wealth. As said by Dadabhai Nauroji in his drain theory, it's drain. What is drain? What we say in Kannada, ಕೊಚ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗೋದು. All wealth going out of India. Since India had to bear the burden of paying wages, pension, and administrative expenses of British officials, a lot of wealth was flowing into England. So, how did this wealth drained out to England? Let us see. Because burden of paying wages. So, those British officials and British officers were paid by whose money? British money? No, by our Indian wealth. They were paid wages. Wages is nothing but salary. Please note it down if you need. And pension. So all the British officers are not young. There are old people. As we say, old is gold, and even they may be having British officers. So for them, pension after their retirement, that was given by Indian wealth in administrative expenses of British officials. So administrative expenses are what? Just for varnishing the walls. They just wanted to show people that we are good administrators. So in the administration it includes, right, what we see today that happened that in that period also. So that administrative expenses of British officials also was through which wealth? Indian wealth. So in this way all Indian wealth was flowing into England. So now we are in the end of age of moderates, that is first phase. So the age of moderates is also called age of generous nationalism. Please note it, very important. It may become it may be for may be coming for MCQ or 1 mark. What is age of moderates? Also known as age of generous nationalism. Topic. What's that? Second phase extremists 1906 to 1920. So what are these extremists? As we get on to the name, we understand that they were extreme. They started extreme violence. It's not violence, it protests against British ideas and their rule. So one group of Congress members who became unhappy with the mild attitude of the moderates called them political beggars. So the moderates were called political beggars. Beggars is nothing but pleading for their rights. So the extremists told moderates as political beggars. They for their not king, they requested for their political rights. So extremists called moderates as political beggars. Those who criticized the moderate thinking and propagated extremist ideas were known as extremists. Who were extremists? The people who criticized. So raised on questions and put on comments on moderate thinking. Moderates are who went on polite manner. So who criticized the moderate thinking and propagated. Propagated is nothing but increasing. So we propagate a plant. What is how we grow a plant? Growing. Yeah. Propagated is nothing but growing. Growing extremist ideas are were known as extremists. So who were extremists? Aurobindo Ghosh, Lal Bal Pal. As you know, Lal Bal Pal. Lal Bahadur Shastri. I'm so sorry. Lala Lajpat Rai, Bipin Chandra Pal, and Bal Gangadhar Tilak were the prominent extremist leaders. So our moderate leaders A.G. Ranade, Surendranath Banerjee, Dadabhai Nauroji, Gopalakrishna Gokhale. So here extremists Aurobindo Ghosh, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bipin Chandra Pal, Bal Gangadhar Tilak. So what is partition of Bengal? Partition is nothing but breakdown. Here we are not discussing about science, but breakdown is breaking, division of Bengal. Partition means division. So partition of Bengal, when it happened? 1905. So what was its backdrop? Bengal was the center of protest and anti-British sentiments. So center of protest. So Bengal was center of protest. It was a place where what we say Dangegalu in Kannada. They all happened in which place? Bengal. And anti-British sentiments. British sentiments means related to British, good for British. Anti-British means opposition to British. So these anti-British sentiments were followed in which place? Bengal. In order to curb this, in order to stop this, what this guy did, Viceroy Lord Curzon, he proposed a plan. He told a plan. He created a plan to divide Bengal, citing administrative problems. So, what is administrative problems? Putting fights between Hindus and Muslims. So he proposed a plan to divide Bengal, citing the Hindus and Muslims fighting. So what he did, East and West Bengal based on Muslim and Hindu population were created. So what this fellow did, this Lord Curzon, East Bengal was Muslims populated. West Bengal was Hindu populated place. So he created division between these two places. So he was successful in creating differences between the two communities. So by creating this, he tried to reduce the intensity of British opposition of Indian freedom fighters. Okay, intensity is nothing but rate of something, rate of anger in them. So if they get on to this problem, they'll forget this, right? So but what happened, this extremist opposed partition of Bengal in the year 1905. So partition of Bengal is regarded to the year 1905. They highlighted this as an example of which policy? Divide and rule policy. As I said before in the last class, divide and rule policy is a cunning policy implemented for what? Dividing Hindus and Muslims so that the Britishers can rule easily. Not easily, they ruled easily because of our Indians' attitude, poor attitude. Poor means their innocent attitude, but to reduce the intensity of freedom struggle, the correct word is. So they opposed, right? What happened next? So protest started mounting means what is mountain? What is trekking? You go on climbing, right? So mounting is nothing but the protest started stepping up, like went on one by one, one by one. So protest started against partition of Bengal. Swadeshi movement is important in this. Please note down, very important. What is Swadeshi movement? Swadeshi movement is a ban on Western goods and the organization supporting the import of European items. So as I said before, in moderates first phase, what happened here is Western goods were imported largely in Indian India and Indian states, Indian provinces, and import of European items. Okay, this Swadeshi movement, what it is mainly of, it created a ban on these Western goods and the organizations. So, which organization supported European items import? They all banned. Extremists banned these Western goods and the organization supporting the use and import of European items by the Swadeshi movement. Okay, they encourage people to use Indian goods. In backdrop of these explosive protests, what happened? In 1911, the British government withdrew the declaration of partition of Bengal. So the British were tired up, I think, after nearly 6 to 7 years. Yeah, 7 years. 5, 11 minus 6. 11 minus 5 is 6. Nearly 6 to 6.5 years. After 1911, they withdrew. They withdrawn the, which one? They withdrew the declaration of partition of Bengal. So they were tired up. They can't bear the protests of Indians. They withdrew declaration. They withdrew what? Declaration of partition of Bengal. So what happened next? So the extremists explain what they explain. This is the main point. Good administration cannot be a substitute for independence. It's absolutely true, 100%. So if a good administrator is there, a dictatorial ruler, it doesn't mean that it is independence. It cannot substitute, means it cannot be a option for independence. So this is an excellent statement. Please note it down as important in your running notes, so they may be coming for MCQ or 1 mark. So Tilak, Pal Gangadhar Tilak G declared, Swaraj is my birthright and I will get it at any cost. So this is a famous slogan and very important for our exam view. Please repeat with me. Swaraj is my birthright and I will get it at any cost. What is Swaraj? Swaraj is independence. Swaraj, what is? Independent India. I'll get my India. It's my birthright. What is birthright? The right coming right from the birth. So we are all Indians now. We got freedom. We are the citizens, right? So he is saying it before, in that period itself. Lokmanya Tilak, Bal Gangadhar Tilak is also known as Lokmanya Tilak. He declared that Swaraj is my birthright and I will get it at any cost. So see his bravery and his thoughts. It's extraordinary. So Swaraj is my birthright and I will get it at any cost. This is the statement declared by Bal Gangadhar Tilak. So what was the aim of extremists? This may be a question. So, an independent India. Thus, an independent India was the aim of extremists. They prepared the common people for freedom struggle. So, common people may not be knowing about all these British ill effects, British cunning rules, cunning policies, their worst ruling, according to me, except education, some improvements. It's a kind of bad ruling, right? They treated us as slaves. So what they did, extremists started preparing the common people. They started telling the people about the revoking against British. Though through religious functions, they started organizing people for a freedom movement. Religious function is not marriage or something. Religious functions means they started organizing people for political social meetings, means debates, what we see now leaders, political leaders do. That was started in that period itself. Lokmanya Tilak, as I said before, that is Bal Gangadhar Tilak, utilized his Kesari in Marathi and Maratha newspaper in English for freedom struggle. Please note it down. It's a very important. Kesari is a newspaper in Marathi language and Maratha is a newspaper in English language. So don't get confused at all. Kesari Marathi. Maratha English. Kesari Marathi. Maratha English. Please keep on saying. Let it go and register in your mind. So understand lesson like a movie. Yeah, even movie gets registered in our mind easily, right? So we'll get this also in our mind registered very deep. Let us come to the topic. Through these papers, he called for the active participation in the fight for freedom. He was imprisoned for his revolutionary articles, and inquiries were instituted against him. He wrote Gita Rahasya in the jail. So what happened? As Britishers are the kind of ones who, if somebody is against them, they'll put them in jail. They'll kill them. They'll hang them like Sangoli Rayana, Jhansi Rani Lakshmi Bai, Kittur Rani Chennamma, Bhagat Singh. As we can see, so many people. What they did? They arrested Lokmanya Tilak for his revolutionary articles. They are good and best articles for us, but it was a revolutionary article because if it is against British, they'll get worms in the stomach, right? So what they did, they arrested him and inquiries were instituted against him. They put on inquiries. They put on inquiries on him that he did that, he did this. He published British opposed articles in his papers Kesari and Maratha, and when his imprisonment happened, he wrote Gita Rahasya. Please note it. This also as very important. There are many important questions in this chapter, as it is a very long chapter. Gita Rahasya was written by Lokmanya Tilak or Bal Gangadhar Tilak in the jail.